Many music producers talk about the curse of the 8-bar loop. You get to 8 bars, you build it up, you get a good idea, and then it goes nowhere. My name is Ashley from Ashbea Music. Today we are going to talk about ways to develop a composition. What happens when you have the idea, you've got 8 bars and you're stuck. Without further ado, let's go and see what we did last time. What can we do with a melody like this to make it go further? We've already talked about repetition in our previous stream because we already used repetition to try and get from this motif to a longer piece of music or to a longer section of music. But in order to develop it further, what we can now do is we can go the other way. So what I mean by that is we can take some of these ideas and split them into their component parts. And then what we can do is take those component parts on a journey. I'm going to take this first part and I'm going to copy it over here. And then actually, you know what? I could still make use of that. So I'm going to copy that over there. So you see, now I'm breaking the melody into unique bits. You want to look for sort of unique elements that you can then string together into new things. We can do that as well. Okay, so we have our component parts. And then we have this. So we split our original idea into 2 separate bits. And then I took this bit from bar 5 of our original idea. Now, what I can do is play around with these ideas, the rhythms, and put them to different notes and see what I come up with. For example, I could take this idea and instead of making it go up, now I could potentially make it go down instead. I've turned that original idea da 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 into a different idea that is related to the original idea. But if you remember, our second bar did something different. It went da 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 da. It did a different rhythm. I'm not going to go to that second rhythm. I'm going to keep going with the first one and create what we call a sequence. Okay, so a sequence is a musical device that allows you to take an idea and then just move it up or down through different scale notes. Okay, so it stays within the scale that you're in, but it keeps moving. Okay, this is a way of doing repetition that makes it not seem so much like a repetition. Let me just illustrate that actually. So we had the original idea, we had this. Now if we did a straight repeat, that would sound like this. Right? And after a while, after maybe 2 repeats, you'd be like, okay, yeah, but do you have something new to say? Right? But using a sequence, in other words, taking the music, repeating it, but moving it up or down, allows it to stay fresh. The ultimate goal of any kind of composition is to try and see if you can come up with an idea that's good enough that you can chop it into bits and use the individual bits. And then what you can do is you can take one idea and spin it out into an entire composition. Bach was a master of this kind of thing, where he would take one idea and spin it out into an entire composition. So if you look, for example, at Bach's 2-part inventions, he does this very same thing, right? He takes one idea that's 1 bar and then spins it out into an entire composition just from that one idea. And he does a bunch of stuff to that initial idea, to that initial bar, to make it last longer. Like, for example, invention number 1 in C major goes like this. Sorry, I can't really play that well because I've got a mic stand in my way. But yeah, you could hear in that example how Bach took that idea and repeated it, but moved it upward, right? He started with, and then he went upward with it. So he's taking it from the 1 chord to the 5 chord. Right? And then he takes it and breaks it into bits and starts doing really interesting things with the individual bits. I definitely encourage you to try this on your own compositions. Come up with ideas that have a bunch of different like rhythms or notes or a bit of variation, and then take it and break it into bits and see if you can use those individual bits. And then you'll find that you can actually develop a piece of music and take it further than you thought you could. So we're going to do that with this idea. Actually, I'm going to bump this up an octave because that will give us more room to come down, because this idea is going to come down now. You notice our original idea, right? Our original idea started going up, but now we're creating contrast because now we're using that same idea, but we're going down instead of up. Right? And I'm going to keep that going. I'm going to keep going down the scale from G to F sharp. So remember, our G major scale goes something like this. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Right? We started with G, D, G, and then it went up to the second note, A, E, A, right? And did the same thing but with a different rhythm. Now we are going to take that starting note and come downwards instead. So instead of going from note 1 to note 2, we're going to go from note 1 to note 7, and then we're going to keep coming down to note 6 and then note 5. So we're going to start on G, then F sharp, then E. So G, then F sharp, then E, then D, and then we'll see where it goes from there. Once you get an idea like this, you might get inspired and want to continue writing. You might want to keep with this sequence, or you might want to go in a different direction. That's perfectly fine. If you feel inspired to go in a different direction, then go in a different direction. Follow your inspiration. These are tools, these are techniques that we can use, but we don't need to stick to them rigidly, okay? We can use them as long as we need to get what we need to out of it. And then if it takes us in a different direction, then go in a different direction. Don't try and fight it. Doesn't matter what plan you had in your head for your composition. Let the music be what it is. Let it go where it wants, and it may surprise you. So here we go. I kind of want to go in a different direction there. Instead of going there, C, A, C, which will be the next logical step in this pattern. I kind of want to break it, because generally what you'll find when it comes to repetition is you can play something once and repeat it once. After the second time, depending on the idea, you can either go for a third time, or it might start sounding a bit kind of boring and stale, and you might want to change it up a little bit just to keep it fresh. In this case, I want to go upward here, because we've gone downward twice. Let's go upward. Let's break the pattern without changing the rhythm. So there's an element of keeping things the same, and there's an element of making things different. So here's what we have here. And then we're going to add some chords to this. We've got all our 7 chords here. We've got G major, A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor, and F sharp diminished, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to try and see what appropriate chords we have. Okay, so we have G and D and G. So which of our chords has D, G and D? It looks like the only option is the 1 chord. So that's what we're going to put in there, G, B, D. So we've got G, D, G here, and we've got G, B, D as our G chord, our 1 chord. And then we have F sharp, D, F sharp. So we need to find another chord that has both an F sharp and a D in it. And it's looking like it's going to be chord 5. We have an F sharp and a D in our melody, and that chord is the only one that has both the F sharp and the D in it. The next notes we have are E, C, and E. So which of our chords here has an E and a C? Well, we have two possible options. We have chord 2 or chord 4. So you have a choice. In my case, I am going to use chord 4. And the reason is, look at the position of the C and the E in the chords. The lower down those notes are, the more important they are, and the stronger they are. So if I have, for example, D and B in my melody, I could choose chord 1 or I could choose chord 3. Depending on the circumstances, chord 3 may be a better chord than chord 1, because the B and the D are at the bottom of the chord, and therefore they will sound stronger in those positions. Not all the time, but there could be times when you want to select chord 3 instead of chord 1. There's no such thing as good or bad, right? There's no such thing as good or bad ideas. There's no such thing as good or bad compositions. Any idea can be good in the right circumstances. In this case, because the C and the E are on top of the 2 chord, but they're at the bottom of the 4 chord, I think the 4 chord is going to sound stronger. So I am going to go back to Musescore and put my 4 chord in, and then we're going to go to the 1 chord. There we go. What we have here is a very strong relationship. When we look at the chords of a key, you're going to find that in any key, chords 1, 4, and 5 are the strongest chords. These are called primary chords. Much like in art, you have primary colors. In music, you have primary and secondary triads. So the primary triads are the ones that keep you using the scale that you're using at the moment. They reinforce the key that you're in. The other chords are what we call secondary chords. They can either make the chord progressions more interesting or move us either temporarily or permanently into new keys, which in music theory is called modulation. In this particular case, we are using primary chords because we want to still stay in G major. We've already used all the primary chords, 1, 4, and 5. What I'm going to do with this one is I'm now going to use chord 2 instead of chord 4 like I used first, because this will create a bit more interest. Even though they're still in the key, the fact that they're not the primary chords gives it a bit more interest. So we have this at the moment. And then I have an idea for another melody that's going to finish off this little 4-bar section. So I want to go da 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 da. That's kind of where I want to go. Dun, da 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 da. So here we're going to take a chord that uses a C sharp. The closest note to the C sharp is the C. So we're going to create what's called a secondary dominant, because I'm going to use a secondary chord, but I'm going to use it to try and change key like we talked about earlier. And in order to do that, I'm going to take that C and change it into a C sharp. Just by raising that middle note 1 semitone, I can now use that 2 chord as a 5 chord, but that 5 chord is going to have a different tonic. We have D, F sharp, and A, which is our 5 chord in G major, and that leads to our 1 chord, which is the usual relationship between 5 and 1. 5 pulls you like a magnet toward 1. However, if we have our 2 chord, which we're then taking the middle note and raising it, so this is the 2 chord with a sharpened 3rd, we can now use that as a 5 chord. But what is it the 5 chord of? If A is the 5th note of a scale, what is the 1? The A, which is the 5, leads to the D, which is the 1. So that means our new tonic is going to be D major. And this is how you change key. But I'm not going to stay there. This is going to be what we call a temporary key change, or a temporary modulation. Then we're going to go straight back to G major, because I want to repeat the idea that I already have. We can't just have a new idea and then just take it in a different direction without giving the audience or the listener something to hang on to. So we need some sort of repetition there to really kind of solidify this idea. Here, I'm going to take my 2 chord, which was A, C, E, but because we have a C sharp in the melody, that's the reason why we're using the C sharp now. And now this is now a 5 of D, so we're going to the 1 of D. But we can't really express it that way because we already have a 1 chord. We haven't changed our key. We've used the secondary dominant, but that doesn't mean we've changed our key. We're not in a new key signature. Since it's only temporary, it's only 1 bar, we haven't changed our key. We can't actually call this 5 and 1 because we haven't moved key yet. So what we do is we call this the 5 of the 5 chord, or we can just call it 2 major. And that means we can still keep this as the 5 chord. We still stay within our key of G major, but we're using a chord borrowed from D major. Okay, so what we have right now is this. I'm going to leave it there for today. I hope you have a wonderful week. Hey, this is Ashley. Thanks for watching this video. Follow us on Twitch to catch up with future streams, and subscribe to our channel to not miss future videos in this series. Here's a video YouTube thinks you'll like. We'll catch up with you again over there.